This is my custom gravel bike that I built this summer. In this video series I'm gonna go through the whole process from having a bare frame to this finished bike. I'll talk about all the parts you need and the tools required to build it up. I'll also share my thoughts on why I'm actually building this gravel bike, and I'll show you all the stuff that I messed up. The things that went wrong, you will see everything. It was quite a lot, actually. What's up guys? What's up cycling fanatics? My name is Jasper and I make videos about bikes. In this first part of the bike build video, I'm already running into some small problems. But one thing that did go surprisingly well was to set up these tubeless tires. It was my first time and it went pretty easy actually. To be fully transparent in this whole series, I do want to mention that Vittoria actually set me up with these wheels and tires, and the frame is given to me by Petrichor cycles, a really small startup brand. For the rest I paid for everything myself, and in the last part at the end I will actually share how much this whole bike build cost me. If you want to see the whole building process, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell notification so you don't miss anything.
I've always been riding on the road, but last summer I was riding with Sam and we were doing some graveling, which was actually fun, and then the idea started to grow in my mind. I want to have a gravel bike. You know, I can buy a gravel bike and I have a gravel bike, but I wanted to make this a little bit more special. I wanted to build my own gravel bike from scratch. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to build a really cool gravel bike. So the thing is, with building a bike from scratch, you need to first think of all the parts that you're gonna need, right? It's not the same as when I overhauled the Fuji and taking apart the bike, cleaning, relubing and buying some new stuff and putting it back together, because you already have all the parts. Now I'm building a bike from scratch and I have to think about every little piece of this puzzle that I'm going to need to put it together. It's more difficult than you would think. Think about bottom brackets. There are a freaking gazillion type of bottom brackets. Same goes with the head tube. What size? You need a specific head tube. Group set. What group set am I going to ride? You know, you have to make all these choices to be able to build up this bike. Dude, I've been waiting to start this build. Currently the situation in the world is kind of crazy, and these wheels, they come from Italy. Well, Italy has opened up the factories, Vittoria's back in business, and last night the package came in. Boom! You know what's cool? I decided I wanted to have golden accessories on this bike. You'll see why when you see the color of the frame. It fits it very nicely. The rims actually have golden decals. That's pretty cool. These are tubeless wheels, and there will be laced up with tubeless tires, which are all in that box. I'm just gonna start and I'll see I'll see where it goes. I mean, maybe I forgot some parts. Maybe I don't have the tools. I don't know. We'll see. Wish me luck. My first gravel build.
Okay, so let's go over all the parts you actually need to build a bike from scratch. A good idea is to start off with the frame, since all parts and compatibility will be depending on your frame choice. I'm building my bike with this steel Petrichor Stratus. Now it's pretty obvious you're gonna need some wheels and tires and a handlebar. Continue with group sets, so cranks, derailleur, brake calipers, front derailleur, cassette and chain. The seat post. Oh, I almost forgot the shifters. Continuing with the less obvious stuff, a stem, headset cups and bearings, disc rotors, seat post clamp, hydraulic hoses, the bottom bracket, cassette locking ring, tubeless valves, some latex, and then more small parts like oversized pulley, handlebar tape, mineral oil for the brakes, and some shifting cables. Think well about compatibility, you'll see more about that in this video series.
I think I have everything. There's actually one essential thing missing, so I have to still order it. But we have some time. If you know what it is, leave a comment. Let's start this build. I'm really looking forward to it.
Let's get things going. Ask any professional and they will tell you proper tools are half the job done. I finally swapped my old bike stand for a new one. This Trivio stand is providing a good base to start, and it's very easy to move the bike in different angles. Together with my workmate and a proper toolbox also from Trivio, this couldn't go wrong, you'd think. So I really wanted to get the front fork in first. To do so I had to mount the headset cups and bearings. I'd never done this before. I didn't have specific tools and I didn't know I actually needed them. Pushing in these cups in the frame wasn't working. What was I thinking? Well, maybe a hammer.
No! God, please, no! No!
A hammer wasn't going to fix that.
No!
Quick search on YouTube told me I need a headset installation tool. However, I can't do the bottom bracket, so I'll just do whatever I can and then wait for the correct tools to arrive.
Okay, skipping to the next step. I found this golden bottom bracket with a thread in the middle, so it locks itself in. And this bottom bracket does not require a press to install it. And it should actually stay in a very good condition for a long time without creaking. I put some anti-seize paste on the bearing and one side was pushed in pretty easily. The other side was quite easy to install by using the bottom bracket installation tool and screwing it in. I actually needed two of those tools to hold the other one on the other side and really lock it. Luckily I already had one of them and one came in the new toolbox. The frame came with a few small bits and pieces like the derailleur pad and cable retention parts. Most frames nowadays have all the cables internal. However, with a steel frame, it's actually still pretty common to have external cables. Continuing with the seat post clamp and the seat post. I chose this aluminum seat post to match the color scheme of the bike, green and gold. Here I'm mounting the rear derailleur, and after that I wanted to start on the brake calipers.
The next step would be to mount the brake calipers, but this adapter seems to be the wrong diameter. The holes do not line up exactly, so I think I need a different adapter for that. Same is on the front fork. The distance between the holes does not correspond. Okay, I guess what people always say is that the journey towards your goal is more important than, you know, the goal itself or reaching the goal. I guess it's the same with building your own gravel bike or any bike, especially for the first time. You're going to face all these different things that you've never thought about. So I couldn't continue with the headset. Now I cannot continue with the brakes. I'm going to set up tubeless wheels.
For this build I'm using tubeless Vittoria Reaxcion SL mountain bike wheels. These are aluminum 27.5 inch wheels, or 650B, however you want to call it. These wheels will create a lot of possibilities for this bike because I can mount really fat tires on these rims.
Vittoria did supply me with tubeless valves, but I had already found these ones, which are gold, and I thought this would fit with the bike very nicely. So I'm gonna install the valves, put the tire on the wheel, and then put in the latex. That should be it. Can't be that difficult, I guess.
The wheels came with tubeless rim tape already installed, so I could skip that step. Here I'm installing the tubeless valves, which is super easy. Just make sure they're aligned on the inside of the rim. There's multiple ways to mount tubeless tires. I started by putting the tire on the rim, but not all the way, you just leave a little bit open.
So freaking hot today, it's crazy. So I've got the tire on the rim, except for the part in the bottom, and I'm gonna put the sealant in right now. I don't have a syringe to fill it up through the valve, so I'm gonna use this actually a pretty big container of latex sealant from Vittoria. But there is this measuring cup at the top, so I guess you unscrew this and then you can sort of fill up the measuring cup, and then I'm gonna put in 80 milliliters straight in the wheel, then close it up, pump it up, and it should work. I think. I hope. First time. From the measuring cup, I poured the latex straight into the tire. Then you close up the rest of the tire carefully. This can be a big mess if you're not careful. The supercell pump from Petrichor works like a compressor. First you pump up the tank to preload the pump. And when you're ready, you turn the handle to allow the release of air instantly. This will shoot a large amount of air into the tire in a short amount of time to pop the tire onto the rim.
It worked!
I pumped some more air into the tire to have it pop completely. And make sure the latex seal would fill up the entire tire bed and valve. About 3 to 4 bars would be a good pressure to do so. Make sure you turn, twist, shake the tire for a few minutes so the latex goes everywhere. And then it's done.
That's how you set up a tubeless tire for the first time. Without having a clue. Looks pretty cool, the black on black.
Having experience with the front wheel, doing this all a second time on the rear wheel would be even easier, you'd say. Well, tubeless tires can be pretty tight on the rim sometimes, and I noticed the tire goes on the rim easier when you first put the entire wheel in the middle of the tire and then pushing the tire onto the rim from the outside. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but you can see me do it here. The first time might have been just beginner luck, because on this wheel things got a bit more messy.
Ah, crack. No.
In hindsight, it's probably better to put the valve on top when you pump the air in, because this way the air doesn't blast into the latex puddle that's in the bottom of that tire and make a big mess. I mounted Ultegra 160mm discs to fit the group set. 160mm would give me extra stopping power when I would, decide to ride steep downhills with heavy luggage. The combination of disc and hub did not allow me to use the standard locker ring that comes with the discs. However, Vittoria supplies a variation on this lock ring with external knobs, and this works very well. You tighten it with the same tool as the bottom bracket. The same is for the other wheel, and I almost had my wheels and tires ready. While I was working on the wheels, I got some help from Sam to mount the Casette.
Ja, leg hem dan maar even neer.
An extra set of hands is always welcome. Since I'm on a double chainring, I'm using a 1134 Road Casette. I think this will provide enough range for most situations, and it still gives me a relative small jumps in between the gears on the flats. The easy way is to use the plastic core of the packaging as a guide and then just drop the entire cassette onto the hub.
Oh, oeh, kom vriend.
The cassette tool to mount it came with the toolbox.
Ja, die heb ik nodig. Kijk, zo. Kijk. Woep. Woep. Goed zo. Hij zit erop. Ja.
The next thing I could do was install the cranks. I still had this compact Ultegra 6800 crank set lying around that I had used on the Fuji while it was stationary in Los Angeles. I figured this would work fine with this bike. It's time to really make it look like a bike and get the rear wheel in. But to mount the rear wheel for the first time, I first had to sand down some of the clear coat in the rear fork dropout to get the right fit and to make the hub slide into that little slot easily. So rear wheel goes in,
that was pretty much as far as I could get with the tools and parts I had at that moment. Despite a couple setbacks and holdups, I can actually say I have a rolling frame after day 1.
So a rolling frame, but not even half of the bike build done. In the next part, you'll see me mount the parts that I ordered to actually fit this frame. And I will also install the hydraulic brakes, something that I've never done before, and this turned out into a big disaster actually.
Been trying for about an hour. Turns out the connection of the hose to the shifter is leaking.
It really couldn't go any worse than what happened to me. Anyway, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next part. I'm gonna see you next time. See ya!